So the portion that they argued was discussed earlier, the court noted. That the section that they did, they argued as an admission in closing argument. Do you have any other case law on this issue, Mr. Shapiro?
No, but if the entire extraction report is not hearsay and can be admitted as such, then there are additional text messages there that just offer an evidence, I guess. One of them says, Chad threatened to kill Margaret. I didn't think that was admissible because I thought it was hearsay, but I guess I could just say that it's not for the truth of the matter asserted, and it's for non-truth use. So I don't know, I guess I get to go back to the extraction report and go over some stuff that I thought was not hearsay, or that I thought was hearsay, and then possibly admit it as such.
Do you have any other argument other than hearsay?
For the text messages between Cody and Chad, I know they're talking about some character evidence for Grant. I think it had to do with about, I don't have them in front of me, but I did review all the text messages in the extraction report. I can't come up with them off the top of my head, but I'm still maintaining that they are hearsay. Yeah, not the call logs. I understand that the call logs are not assertions, but the text messages specifically, just because they're in an extraction report, don't make them non-hearsay.
State, any brief response?
Mr. Shapiro is correct, Judge. I mean, the report itself is not hearsay. I still have to establish either hearsay exception or the fact that it's non-hearsay. And that's what I've told Your Honor is my intent and my concern and my desire to use these is to show the timeline and the nature of communications between the two. A material fact at issue in this particular case is the course of conduct of both the defendant and the victim as to who was controlling that cell phone. And that evidence, along with a number of other things that Ms. Blay will be testifying to later this afternoon, will address that material fact. And I certainly understand there's a fundamental difference between offering something for one purpose and then making an argument predicated upon the truthfulness of that particular assertion in closing, which is what the Gale case sort of hangs its hat on as allowing the, explaining the difference between the non-hearsay and the nature of the extraction report.
Right. Let me ask you, Mr. Shapiro, are there specific ones, because there's a lot of general things that are discussed in here, are there, and other things, are there specific ones that you have take more issue with or have issue with?
I wouldn't mind reviewing them again, Judge. I mean, let me just explain to you where I'm coming from here. The extraction report, I think the better course of action, which was the way we went through it with the non-hearsay text messages, was to file a motion to let you know which ones we were going to use, or to try to use for non-hearsay use. I was not given that by the state. I just have the entire extraction report, which I did read all the text messages from, so I would have to look through them again to see which ones specifically I think are more problematic than others, but off the top of my head, I don't recall them because I didn't expect the state to try to put either all the extraction report or part of it, or a significant part of it, in just sort of as is. But I did not expect that, Judge.
Well, how many pages was the original extraction report?
1,200?
Pardon?
1,200, I think.
Was the redaction or this portion given to them beforehand?
Everything was given to them beforehand, yes, sir.
Well, I think the main one, I don't think we got a redacted version of exactly which ones.
This is the redacted, this version, no, this is
Right.
what you have now, right?
Right, it's the entirety, yeah.
Sure.
We have the entirety. We weren't given, like, this is what we're focused on. Which is not really their, obligation, I understand that.
Well, the court notes, if I'm correct, it seems to be approximately the last 18 days or so prior to the deaths.
That there are particular messages that are unduly prejudicial or more so than they are
Well,
probative.
403 argument was never made at this point.
Judge, I would raise relevance and 403 grounds for a lot of them. Like I said, this is off the top of my head based on my recollection. And
I asked if there
I'm
was
sorry.
another argument.
Sorry, yes. And we filed a motions only that included those. I know it wasn't for the text messages, but yes, we would raise relevance, prejudice, and improper character evidence for text messages.
All right, this is the one that the court will note. Okay, January 9th to 40, talking about credit being ruined. My beautiful payoff of $113,000 goes to $265,000. I think that's prejudicial. Let's see. The part where it says on January 12th, 11:31, who just killed us due to living fantasy, more time at a lounge around once we were both working. If there's a strategy, I don't know it. I'm just now about to eat a good portion of my retirement money. I'm trying to understand what we're doing and going. That portion, which is on page 8. And what I will allow, it's just the middle part of that to be taken out. The first couple words and the last couple words will be allowed. It's just, because I think part of what the state's arguing as far as modus operandi is the introduction and signature, so to speak, of some of these. Otherwise, a lot of this is small talk, so to speak. January 22nd, 7:16 a.m. Part of the center, part of that. You can keep the "Good morning, son, I'm on my way to work," and the "Proud of you, really love Dad," or no, but we'll see that last line in the first portion of the first line. And that's on page 21. 122, 944, the portion in between where it says, "which he could one day, but figured if he bolts again or breaks the law, he's done here and obviously wants to lead a bad life and suffer, probably due to mental illness," which I still believe is real there, but we can't spend any more money on loved one or not if hell-bent on self-destruction. That middle portion down to the point where we get to the mental decisions are still poor. And that's on page 21.
Ending with mental decisions still poor?
Yes, are still poor. All right, the 122, 928, he can't actually log on Twitter from his computer, the downstairs computer, because I have it blocked via the host file. But at the very least, so you can just put he can't actually as the beginning part, and then after that, I'd just put the last line, which is he should delink, so maybe that, but you keep an eye out and no data app phone. But otherwise, everything else can be taken out.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first word you said on the second half.
The second half starts with point, he should delink, so maybe that,
Okay,
but you keep, just the last line,
I understand.
all right?
Yes.
All right, those are the ones briefly that I see as far as possible 403 issues. So the court will indicate that those have to be taken out based upon what the court knows.
Judge, different topic, not familiar with the current ruling. Since we're going down this road, I have to bring this up. There is a text message from Margaret to Chad that is on January 9th. I'm sorry. So I'm not sure if it's in their redacted version, but I can tell you it's in the extraction report.
Okay.
And I just have to bring this up because we're going to go down this road of text messages. Then I'm going to want to make an argument that this is admissible. This would be a text message on January 9th, 2019, 10:53 a.m. from Margaret Amato. I'm just going to read what's in that text message. "I have spent the last 30 years of my life, except for the few years we were separated, trying to meet your expectations. You have spent the last 15 trying to meet mine. We are different, but together I thought we had found peace and appreciation for each other's strengths that made us a solid team. 1 week ago, in the space of 3 hours, you vehemently told me how much you hate me and what a loser I am, that I'm responsible for ruining your life, that I think of you as a meal ticket and fixer so I can sit back and do nothing, that you want to kill me, and most hurtful, that you regret not choosing, I think this would be THUY, Twee, and France/Dubai. I am to recover, not lose my job, keep Cody feeling good by not perpetuating a depressive atmosphere, and move Grant in a meaningful direction. I will support whatever you need to do for you. At this point, I don't care what that means for me. I'm tired of fighting. You can have everything. The most important part being that Chad threatened to kill her.
You intend on arguing that as a truth of a matter asserted?
Well,
Because
Jason.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Jason testified that he was not witness to any violence in the household. I'm pretty sure, I think I'm paraphrasing, but I think that was a question asked of him, whether he had witnessed any type of violence. I think this is impeachment evidence of that he was implying that there is no violence in this household prior to this date based on this text message. That is not true. There was a threat of force. And, she comes up dead a couple weeks later. So, the state has been able to offer this character evidence of Grant without a 404B notice filed for any of them. It includes Jericho's descriptions of theft and, the credit cards that we're talking about without a 404B notice. And they're saying, I'm assuming the argument, but I don't know if they ever said it, was that it was inextricably intertwined because that would be the only other reason besides a 404B notice to include character evidence. So Judge, if what they've argued is inextricably intertwined, this is a threat against Margaret 2 weeks before she comes up dead from Chad, and then also, on top of that, Judge, I think we would use it to rebut Jason's testimony, which would not be for the truth of the matter asserted because it would be impeachment evidence. So that's count one is impeachment. I'm sorry, Judge, we would argue, number one, it's impeachment of Jason's testimony, and number two, for the same reasons that the state has been able to get into improper character evidence for Grant without, or not, I'm sorry, they haven't gotten into it yet, but they've argued that they will with Jericho's stolen credit card. We would argue that this is inextricably intertwined with what happened with all of them during this time period.
Response.
That's the definition of hearsay, Judge.
You want to stand?
Yes, ma'am. That's the very definition of hearsay. You can offer it for impeachment purposes, but it still has to be admissible. And if one witness says that X, Y, Z happened, and then another witness made a statement out of court that the opposite happened, and it's offered to show that that statement's not true, and the other one is, that is a hearsay purpose.
All right. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shapiro, do you intend on arguing that that was a credible threat?
Well, first we would argue it's impeachment of Jason. That's number one. Number two.
I'm asking you if you're offering it for the truth of the matter asserted that there was an actual threat made to kill Margaret Amato by Chad.
In the alternative, yes.
Okay. Well, then for that purpose, then the objection would be sustained as to that. It would not be permissible because that portion then is hearsay. It's being offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
I understand. Previously for impeachment, that would not be for the truth of the matter asserted. That would be the impeachment purpose, Judge.
All right. The same ruling. It would still have to be a statement. So at this point, and it's not, at this point, the court's going to ask you all you're going to have to prepare a redacted version of 10M. I suggest you have one of your cohorts do it. So that way you can continue the questioning and we can bring the witness back in and continue the questioning. All right. I put Post-its at least on the pages that I could briefly look at. Initially, the court was looking as the context or otherwise. So 403 argument wasn't made, but once it was made, then the court just briefly did that in court without any other further statements. And then otherwise, is the witness present?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we get the witness back here on the stand?
Were there any other objections with regard to the report before we bring him back in here, since we're here?
Nothing other than what we had stated before, hearsay, relevance, prejudice, and improper character evidence. And I know the court has ruled accordingly, so I understand.
But I'm referring to the actual rest of the report. Anything else? Not just text messages.
Oh, in addition to the text messages, I think all that's left in there is what they're the call log and
Contacts, call log,
no problem with contacts, no problem with call log.
there's
There's a notes section, I don't know, I think there was a portion of the
notes
notes section.
section is in there.
There's a portion of the notes section that had to do with Cornerstone, I think.
And
If there may be something the court have missed, and I'm going to ask the state, if they see something with Cornerstone, they can have the first line and the last line, but any text that mentions Cornerstone, you would otherwise have to take out the subject in between, just the first line and the last line, because Cornerstone would also be having to deal with Mr. Amato. Do you understand what I'm saying?
yes, ma'am, the Cornerstone stuff came in through his interview. I mean, I'll do whatever you say, but my understanding was that already was admitted through his interview. I think he said in his interview he was at Cornerstone, which is a rehab facility in South Florida. So I didn't know that was an issue.
I don't know if there was anything else that was being stated through there. Not that I saw, but I took out what I could see. But I don't know if there's any aspect of opinion evidence as to mental issues or otherwise, so that's why I'm saying that, in an abundance of caution. If we could get the jury, please. All right, members of the jury, thank you for your patience. We actually started in the middle of your lunch hour going over some things. It took a little bit longer than planned, so we were back earlier. And at this point, we're going to continue with the next minute, the current witness, the state's case. Can you all approach just briefly?
Investigator Stewart.
May we approach briefly, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Investigator Stewart, sorry. You had testified, I believe when we left off, that you had completed a redacted extraction report of item N2, that being an Apple iPhone that was located in the bedroom of the Amato residence. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Showing you 10M, M as in Mary, for identification purposes. Take a look at that and tell me if you recognize it.
I do.
And what does 10M purport to be?
It's a portion of the advanced logical extraction report that I generated.
And portion of it?
Yes.
Okay, and is it a fair and accurate depiction of that portion?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And 10M is evidence at this time.
All right.
We'll only re-raise our prior objection, so we raise it of course as well.
As to that portion of 10M, the court will overrule the objection. And what has been pre-marked for ID as State's Exhibit 10M will be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 275 in evidence.
Projector on, please. Okay. Now, Investigator Stewart, I want to go through some of the report with you here on the stand,
Okay.
okay? And for the record, this is page 1 of Exhibit 275. So when you generate these types of reports, this first page, what does this first page show us?
It has device information about the cell phone itself. At the top, it will have information about who generated the report, so it'll have my name.
Okay, and so here, for example, about, I don't know, maybe 10 lines up, it has a phone number, 407-416-1344.
Yes, sir.
And for purposes of the record, that number has been stipulated to being Chad Amato's cell phone.
Yes, sir.
When you ran this report, did you cross-check to see if the unique identifiers and the serial number on this report matched the phone that you were doing work on?
Yes, I did.
And is that right up here, this unique identification number that we're talking about?
Yes, sir. There's an ICC ID number there, and then also an IMEI number.
Now, the second page of this report shows, what are we looking at here in the paper version of the phone?
It's going to be a call log. So
What's the call log?
basically phone calls incoming and outgoing. So if you have an iPhone, you would click on the green phone icon.
Okay, so if you click on the little green phone button and you go to recent calls, this is the paper version of what you would see.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on that screen would have been these calls.
Yes, sir.
Now, did you also have the occasion to review a portion in the report that deals with notes?
Yes, I did.
And again, can you tell us about the notes section? Is this the part of the iPhone where you push out a little piece of paper looking thing and you can type notes? Is that what this is?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so is this just a printout of what was contained on that phone at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now here we have a sheet that's entitled Contacts. Can you tell us what this is?
So this would be saved contacts in your phone that you can personally identify who's calling you or who you want to call.
Okay, so that would be the little phone book button?
Yes, sir.
Right? So the names associated with each phone number.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you generated this report, did it also capture SMS messages?
Yes, it did.
And can you tell the court what an SMS message is?
It's a text message. So a message that you send or receive from someone or something else.
Okay. And that is also just a snapshot of what was on that phone at the time that you did your extraction?
Yes, it is.
Did you also review on Chad's iPhone the web history of this particular device?
Yes, I did.
And is that information contained in your extraction report?
Yes, it was.
So I'm showing you still in State's Exhibit 275, the paper number on the actual exhibit is page 365. We'll go back a little bit here. Let's go back, let's say, to the dates on here. What dates are we looking at here for web history?
January 20th, 2019.
Okay, and they're time stamped as well as date stamped.
Yes.
Can you zoom in?
Yes, ma'am. And so, for example, Investigator Stewart, so on the 20th, this is just a snapshot of the web searches that were done on the phone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the next page, also starting from the bottom, time and date stamped for web searches. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And the times change, obviously, as we go up the sheet. Okay. Let's take a look at search history for the 24th, starting at the bottom. So at 123, for example, there's a record that reflects that a Gator Chatter website was visited.
Yes, sir.
And that was visited for quite a while. It looks like up until about 132, at least in this section of the report, the very top of the screen. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Now, after 134.55, the last Gator Chatter search Were there different types of searches that were done?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
After 1:34 in the afternoon, is it safe to say we were done looking up Gator stats?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, these searches, can you tell us what time they were done? Starting from entry number 6.
Would have been on January 24th, 2019 at 6:16 p.m. UTC.
Okay, UTC.
Yes, sir.
What is UTC?
UTC stands for Coordinated Universal Time. It's a way to reference the time in the world. So here it shows -5, and that's what it would have been here in Florida in January due to daylight savings time, where right now we are -4 because of the hour difference.
Gotcha. So then this would be the time adjusted for where we currently are standing in the world.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so from 1:34:55 in the afternoon on January 24th, does this record reflect any searches being done between 1:34 and, say, 6:14?
No, it does not.
So the next searches begin at 6:15.
Yes, sir.
And then from 6:15 to 11:28, were there any searches done on that phone?
No, there wasn't.
And from at 11:28 p.m. on the 24th, there's an entry for wiping an iPhone. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And then was there another search at 11:29 with similar language?
Yes, sir.
And that goes up until 11:30 on the evening of the 24th.
Yes, sir.
Okay. May I approach the clerk? Now, as part of the extraction on Chad's iPhone, did you also extract a series of text messages between Chad Amato and Cody Amato?
Yes, I did.
I'm showing you Exhibit 15B. Can you take a look at that? And is this a redacted version of the text message sampling between those two individuals?
Yes, it is.
And other than the redactions, of course, is it a fair and accurate depiction of those text messages?
Yes, it is.
And this was what was recovered from the digital forensics pull of the data from Chad's iPhone?
Yes, it is.
Tender 15B is next.
15B is a
B as
boy.
in boy.
It's been pre-marked for ID. Estates Exhibit 15B will be moved into evidence. Estates Exhibit 276 in evidence.
And Judge, just for the record, we would re-raise our prior objections that we made to this evidence.
All right. Objection noted.
Now, I'm not going to go through every text message here, sir, but I'll flip through some of the pages and ask you a question or two while I'm doing it. Do you know when these text messages start?
And 1 moment before we go through the text messages, members of the jury, you're about to view the text messages or some messages that are entered into evidence. The court instructs you they've been edited to eliminate irrelevant portions that would not aid you to understanding the case, but also I would instruct you that each of those text messages that are entered are not being offered to show that they're true. All right, so there's nothing in there to indicate that what is being stated is actually true or otherwise, so you're not to consider it as such as testimony from any individuals, all right? Otherwise, at this point, you should appropriately look at the evidence and evaluate that evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. The first date that we have here, when was that? Can you see from where you're sitting?
January 6th, 2019.
And upon your review of this conversation, going back from January 6th, were there a number of text messages entered?
Yes, there were.
And looking at the timestamps of these various text messages, were they generally timely answered?
Yes.
And the conversation was otherwise ongoing?
Yes, they were.
And they continue up and until looks like January 24th in the evening. Last message from Cody Amato being sent, that's, what time is that?
6:47:51 p.m.
I tender the witness at this time.
Good morning, Investigator Stewart.
Good morning.
You were responsible for doing an extraction of Chad Amato's iPhone, is that correct?
I did generate the report, yes, sir.
So you generated the report that was based on Mr. Amato's iPhone, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Judge, I've shown the state what has been pre-marked as Defendant's Exhibit B for identification purposes. May I approach the witness? Investigator Stewart, I'm showing you what has been pre-marked as Defendant's Exhibit B for identification purposes. Did you see the web history portion of Mr. Amato's iPhone?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you look at entry number 98 all the way to, I'm sorry, there's, well, it's on the last page.
To 200.
To 200?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you need to review that, or does that look familiar to you?
Just review it for just a second.
Sure. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of Chad Amato's web history from entry number 98 all the way to 200?
It appears to be, yes.
Okay. Judge, at this time, I would enter into evidence what has been pre-marked as Defendant's Exhibit B as Defendant's Exhibit next.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, what's been pre-marked for ID as Defendant's Exhibit B will be moved into evidence as Defendant's Exhibit 2 in evidence.
Investigator Stewart, there are some interesting portions of this portion that include an entry number 112, unlock Asus laptop, forgot password, Windows 10 without disk. Is that part of this as well?
Would you be able to show it?
Sure. May I approach the witness, Judge?
You may.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can use the technology. Thank you. Okay. Oh. Entry number 112.
Could you zoom in just a little bit, because you were even squinting, which I know the jury will have a problem with that.
Totally understand. I apologize, Judge. Okay, looking at, oh, no, make it even bigger, okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor, I just want to make sure this is on here. Okay, Investigator Stewart, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item number 112 from Chad Amato's iPhone says, unlock Asus laptop, forgot password, Windows 10 without disk. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Item number 113 states, how to reset password on Asus laptop, Windows 10 Google search. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
This goes on for quite a while on this report, doesn't it?
Quite a few entries.
Number 114 states, had a factory reset Asus laptop Windows 10 without password, correct?
Yes.
Now these entries, no, I'll go back to some more of them. They were on January 19th of 2019, correct?
I believe so, but I can't see.
Oh,
on
I'm
the-
sorry. I keep asking you without putting this up here. I apologize. Let's go to one. All right, so let's move this down. That first Google search that I referenced was on January 19th of 2019, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving along. This one about how to factory reset Asus laptop Windows 10 without password. That was one of Chad's searches on January 19th of 2019, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then there's thank you. Number 115 entry, how to factory reset Windows 10 password. That's another one
Yes, sir.
in the report, correct?
Correct.
That is also January 19th of 2019. Go down to number 134. Software to remove Windows 10 password. That's on there too, correct?
Correct.
And that one, once again, is on January 19th of 2019, correct?
Correct.
The next entry, number 135. Offline Windows password and registry editor. That one is also January 19th of 2019, correct? Number 136. Here are the best Windows 10 password recovery tools. That's another entry, correct?
Correct.
That is January 19th of 2019, correct?
Correct.
.137, 138, software to remove Windows 10 password, software to remove Windows 10 password. Those are both on there as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Number 142, Windows 10 password incorrect error. That's also on there.
You said 142 or, oh,
I'm sorry.
also
Oh,
140?
I'm not putting it up there properly. I'm sorry, 142.
Correct.
Thank you. Number 148, Windows 10 won't accept password at login. That's on there too, correct?
Yes, sir.
Number 152, how to easily reset your Windows 10 password if you forgot it, 2018. That's on there too, correct?
Correct.
Number 160, bypass or reset password, Windows 8 or 10. That's on there too, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's also on January 19th of 2019.
Yes, sir.
So Mr. Amato does a lot of searches on his phone about password reset, correct?
He did on those dates. Yes, sir.
Number 161, bypass or reset password Windows 8 or 10 to download free. That's also on there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Also on January 19th of 2019, correct?
Correct.
Number 178, Windows doesn't accept my password after updating. That's on there as well, correct?
Correct.
Number 180, password not recognized. These are all continuous Google searches for password resets and bypassing a password, correct?
For Windows 10.
Correct. Number 183, Windows 10 won't accept password at login. That's on there too, correct?
You said 183? Okay, there.
181, I'm sorry, 181.
Yes, sir.
183 has Windows 10 password not working, correct?
Correct.
So there are many, many Google searches, or I'm sorry, web searches for how to bypass a password. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
On Chad Amato's iPhone, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Judge, could I have one moment?
Investigator Stewart, just a couple questions. Thank you. First, easy question. Was Chad Amato dead on January 19, 2019?
No, he was not.
Was he dead on January 20, 2019?
No, he was not.
But he was dead on the 24th.
Yes, sir.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Now, all these searches that you went through with defense counsel in Defense Exhibit 2, and I'll read some of them to you here. Windows 10 password not working. Windows 10 password incorrect after update. Windows 10 password won't log in. Bypass or reset Windows 8 or 10 password. These are all done on the 19th. Software to remove Windows 10. Are these searches that are done to otherwise reset, an attempt to reset access privileges to a Windows operating computer?
Objection, opinion.
Overruled.
Possibly. I mean, there could be different circumstances with why you would be searching that.
Okay. What are some of the circumstances?
In one of them, it said he reset the hard drive or Windows, and for the password's not working. So maybe there could have been an error while doing that. Also, I don't know if it was his computer to begin with. Maybe they got it handed to him. There's plenty of possibilities that could have been.
But all those entries are all Windows 10, and Windows 8, Windows 7, all Windows-related searches. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir. They all appeared to have to do with the operating system with Microsoft or Windows.
And in fact, there's not a single, and we can look at it together one more time, if you like, before we answer this question. Let's go ahead and do that. I mean, what should we do?
Sure.
Look through Defense Exhibit. Oh, well, it just might be quicker, frankly. Flip through there real quick from this Defense Exhibit 2 and see if you see any single searches on Jack's phone that has anything to do with an Apple product at all.
No, there doesn't.
And so the only time in the history of this phone, based on your logical extraction of this phone, the only time that any web searches were done with regard to an Apple product was the night of the 24th.
Objection leading.
Sustained.
Was the only time in the history of this report you generated where an Apple product, when was the only time an Apple phone product was searched?
In regards to resetting a password or something to do with that, that would be the January 24th.
So all these other entries, nothing to do with Apple.
Correct.
Can I have a moment, Judge? I don't have any further questions.
Members of the jury, do you have any questions of this witness? Write them down. All right. All right. First question. Was there an Asus laptop found in the house? And if yes, whose was it?
I'm not aware of it. However, there were numerous electronic devices that were inside the house, so it's possible. I'm not sure.
Please clarify the text message at 6:47 p.m., January 24th. If you could please put that up there. Was from Chad or to Chad?
It's saying red, so, would I be able to look at it in person? Yeah, just. Okay. So, right there, that one says sent, so that's gonna be from that number. The other is red, so it would have been received from, Cody.
All right, so was the 6:47, January 24th text message from Chad or to Chad?
To Chad.
Are deleted messages on iPhones able to be retrieved? And if yes, was this attempted on Chad's phone?
It is possible. So with every device, it's going to be different. With iPhones, it is a possibility, and yes, it was.
State, do you have any questions based on those questions?
Can deleted call log entries also be recovered?
Yes, they can.
And was that attempted in this case as well?
Yes, it was.
Not anything further.
Defense?
Nothing, Judge.
Any more questions from the members of the jury? All right, may this witness be excused?
Subject to recall.
All right, sir, you're excused, but you're not released, so you're free to go about your business until you're recalled. State, you may call your next witness.
Recall Geraldine Blay.
Please come and have a seat. All right, you may proceed.
Welcome back, Investigator Blay. I want to talk to you about item N2. That would be Chad's iPhone. Did you also conduct a examination of that phone?
I did.
And did you use any special tools to conduct that examination?
Yes, I used Celebrite Physical Analyzer, and I also used Blacklight, Encase, and Axiom.
Okay. And those are all software tools that you have in your laboratory?
Yes, they are.
Now, and before I get to that, I do want to readdress a topic. When you previously testified, did you have the opportunity during the lunch hour to examine the metadata on some of the photographs that were contained on Grant Amato's thumb drive?
I did.
I've previously shown defense counsel. Let's start with 15D. Do you recognize this item?
Yes, I do.
And in fact, you just generated this item, did you not?
I just did, yes.
Okay, and can you tell us what this 15D is?
Yes, it is a report created with Encase that shows some of the items from the thumb drive, their file name, their size, when these items were created on N7 on Grant's computer, and the path.
Okay, and is that a fair and accurate depiction of the electronic data that was stored on the image you worked off of?
Yes, it is.
I tender 15D as states next.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
All right, what's been pre-marked for ID as State's Exhibit 15D will be, and that's D as in David, will be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 277 in evidence.
Investigator Blay, did you also do some additional confirmatory work with regard to these photographs?
Yes, I did.
Can you explain, I'm showing you 15C for identification purposes. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
It is the report that I just generated using another tool, EXIF tool.
Okay, EXIF tool?
That's the
Okay, and what's EXIF?
EXIF is the metadata on pictures, pretty much.
Okay, and is that report a fair and accurate depiction of the computer data that was generated with regard to the photos in 277?
It is.
We tender 15C as states next.
Then what's been pre-marked for ID as 15C will be moved into evidence as 278 in evidence with no objection from the defense.
Permission to publish?
You may.
We're just going to do a couple, okay?
Okay.
You don't have to go through all of them. For example, image 3 on page 1 of Exhibit 277. What does that tell us?
That's right here is the name of the image. That's the size. When it was created, this was when it was created on the volume, which also matches the created date of the picture itself.
And that's from comparing this information.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So the creation date, for example, for image 3 would have been September 13, 2018.
Yes, according to the other report as well.
Okay. And this would have been when? Image
It would have
two?
been, it was created on the volume, on the computer on August 16th, 2018 at 8:06 a.m.
And this picture of Chad Amato's checkbook, for example?
It was, and you can confirm with the other report, which shows the actual metadata from the phone where it was taken, on November 6, 2018 at 11:19 p.m.
Okay, and image 6 below that, or would that be image 7, right?
6 or 7?
6.
The card?
The card.
The card is, would be
7.
It starts, I think so. I can go back. If you go back to the first page, I can show you for sure. The first page. Yeah, so it's underneath. Okay.
So, image 6.
6. Okay. What is that? October 11th, 2018, at 11:19 p.m.
The driver's license photograph.
October 17, 2018, at 1:41 p.m.
Image 43.
December 22nd, 2018, at 2:56 in the morning.
Image 42.
December 22nd, 2018, at 2:56 in the morning.
Okay. So, the dates of these photos of the checks and the credit cards and everything, they span a pretty wide range of time.
Yes.
Up and until December.
Yes.
Now, let's go back to Chad's iPhone, okay? You said you used a tool called Gray Key. Is that true?
Yes, that is true.
Okay. And I believe you previously testified that you couldn't get into Chad's iPhone until you guessed the password. Is that right?
That is correct.
And the password was what?
072759.
And that would be his date of birth.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I want to show you State's Exhibit 10F. And I'm showing it to the defense counsel. Showing you Exhibit 10F for identification purposes. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
It has my initials and the date in the bottom.
And what does this document purport to be?
It is subsection of my Axiom report showing Safari searches on the Knowledge C database.
Okay. And is this a fair and accurate paper copy of that electronic report?
It is.
Attending 10F states next.
Judge, we want to re-raise our prior hearsay objection.
Okay, if I could see that just briefly. See what it was. All right, what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 10F will be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 278 in evidence. 279.
Permission to publish? This is Exhibit 279 for the record. And Investigator Blay, you testified that you got this information from the Knowledge C database file. Is that so?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that's not like looking at the search history on your computer.
No, that's like a system database.
Okay, so it's much deeper in the phone.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And And we'll get to database files in a little bit. And with regard to Exhibit 279, I'm referencing page 3. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I want to ask you about entries 3 and 4. Is that a record of a website that was visited on this particular phone?
Yes, it is.
And at what time was that particular website visited?
On January 24th, 2019 at 11:29:30 p.m. or 11:30 p.m.
And again, that was located deeper in the phone's system.
Yes, it is.
If you go
Oh,
over,
no, I apologize. Those are from Safari, from the
Safari,
history.
okay.
Mhm.
so if you forgot the passcode for your iPhone, iPad, or iPad Touch and your device is disabled, that would have been at 1/24/2019, 11:29 p.m.
Yes.
Now, did you examine Chad's iPhone to determine whether that telephone had any of the call records deleted?
Yes, I did.
And is it safe to say that just because somebody swipes left on their recent phone call history to push the delete button, that a record may still exist deeper inside the phone?
Yes, that is correct.
Now, I want to ask you, and you mentioned it once already, but I want to get techie now, finally. Can you tell us about database files? Explain to the jury what a database file is.
So, database is like an electronic collection of files of records. I like to think about it like a phone book, for example. You have in a phone book, you have people's names, addresses, and phone numbers. And technically, you could look somebody up by name, or you could look, if you have a lot of patients, you can look somebody up by phone number or by address. So that's like an analogy I like to use for databases.
So, are there database files in an iPhone?
There are.
And is a database file something that a typical iPhone user can have access to?
No, not directly like that.
So how do you go about getting access to database files?
We have different forensic tools that parse these database files.
And I want to discuss each of those database files individually, starting with the Knowledge C database file. What kind of information can you piece together by reviewing the Knowledge C database file deep inside an iPhone?
Knowledge C database file has a wealth of information. It has different things that you can look at. For example, it can tell you what application was up in the screen, or it can tell you, and that's for applications that are not deleted. It can tell you Safari records, like searches or websites that have been visited, text messages, phone calls, the percentage of the battery, whether a phone is plugged in or unplugged, whether the screen is on or off, or if it's locked or unlocked. That's some of the things that you can find.
So by looking at the Knowledge C database file, can you tell whether somebody accessed a certain application?
Yes,
Can you tell how long somebody accessed a certain application?
yes, you can.
Can you tell whether phone calls were deleted?
Yes,
Can you tell whether the lock settings were accessed, the preferences of the phone were accessed?
yes,
Now, were there any phone calls that were deleted from Chad's iPhone the 24th?
yes, there were.
How many?
2.
Showing defense counsel 10E for identification purposes. Investigator Blay, I'm showing you Exhibit 10E for identification purposes. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
How's that?
It has my initials and the date on it.
And this three-page document, what does it purport to be?
It is a subsection of my report that shows the 2 entries in the Knowledge C database, the phone calls that were deleted, and this corresponding contact information.
And is this a fair and accurate depiction of the digital information that you recovered from Chad's iPhone?
Yes, it is.
10E, it states next.
Any objection?
Only our prior objections, Judge, motions, our prior motions.
All right, can I see that briefly? All right. Objection overruled. What's been pre-marked for ID as State's Exhibit 10E will be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 280 in evidence.
May I publish, sir?
You may.
Place item 280 on the overhead. So, Investigator Blay, is this sort of a snippet of the raw computer data that you looked at to get an idea of what phone calls were deleted?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And there are times and dates there. What are those times and dates indicative of?
The dates and times when the calls came in.
Okay, so that's when the calls came in to Chad's phone,
Correct.
9:15 and 9:12 approximately?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that you were able to tell who they were from.
Correct.
And is that, we're going to take you to page 2 of Exhibit 280. And is this the information that you used to determine where those calls came from?
Yes, according to I correlated, like that comes from the contact information saved on the phone.
Okay. So what name popped up on the screen when those calls came in?
Cody Amato.
And that would be, I'll refer you to page 3. Is that just the data that reflects the same information for the second call?
Yes, correct.
So 2 phone calls from Cody Amato to Chad Amato were deleted on the 24th.
Yes.
Now, using that Knowledge C database file, did you review and notate application usage? In other words, what applications were accessed and how long they were accessed on Chad's phone on the 24th and 25th of January?
Yes, I did.
Now, for example, by using this knowledge database file, were you able to tell whether notes applications were accessed from Chad's phone?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to tell what time notes were accessed?
Yes.
Were you able to determine what notes were accessed?
Yes, I did.
We'll come back to that one in a moment. Now, I'd like to ask you about battery life. Using that database, did you examine the battery life of
Yes, I
Chad
did.
Amato's phone? You did?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Showing Defense Counsel 10-0. Investigator Blay, I'm showing you. First, we'll start with 10-0. Take a look at that. Do you recognize 10-0?
I do.
How do you recognize 10-0?
It has my initials and the date on the bottom of it.
And what does item 10-0 purport to be?
It is a subsection of my report that shows when the phone was plugged in or unplugged.
And is this a fair and accurate depiction of the raw data indicating when Chad's iPhone was plugged in and unplugged?
Yes, it was.
I'm now showing you 10N as in Nancy for identification purposes. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
It has my initials and the date.
And what does item 10N as in Nancy purport to be?
It is a paper printout of when the screen was on or off on Chad's phone.
And is this a fair and accurate depiction of that raw data from Chad's iPhone?
Yes, it is.
Just read contender items 10O and 10N. Nancy, that stays there.
Judge, we would just re-raise our prior motion, that's the only objection.
Approach briefly. All right, objection is overruled as to states, what's been pre-marked for ID as States Exhibit 10N will be moved into evidence as States Exhibit 281 in evidence, and what's been pre-marked for ID as States Exhibit 10O will be moved into evidence as States Exhibit 282 in evidence.
May I accomplish, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm sorry, Judge, what was 10O?
282.
Thank you. Okay. Let's begin with with 281. I'm going to zoom out at first, and I'll zoom in, don't worry. All right. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 columns here on this document. Can you tell us the first column, where it says, I believe it says state at the very top? Let's zoom in a little bit. All right, here we go. Let me just start like this. State, what does that mean?
It means the state of the phone, if the screen is on or off.
Okay, and then the next column, start time date?
The moment that state started, for example, let's go with the first one right here. It says that the screen was on from 3/16/20, roughly, to 3/16/32.
Okay, and what's the recorded date?
When that information was recorded on the database.
So inside the knowledge C database?
Yes, it
Okay.
takes a couple.
And then the source column, is that the specific file or subfile or whatever you call it?
That's the name of the extraction, of the gray key extraction. That we,
All right, so this shows us when the screen was turned on and off.
correct.
Okay. So, did you review this document previously?
I did.
And did you review the history of this particular phone with regard to when the screen was on and off?
Yes, I did.
And did anything jump out at you?
Yes. Normally, the phone would be, the screen would be on for a little bit while the phone was being used, and then it would be back to being off. And then when they were going to use it again, it would come back on. And but from on January 24, 2019, from 5:52 p.m. Until 12:21 a.m., the screen was on. It stayed on throughout that time. Then it was off for a little bit, on and off, and then again from 12:31 in the morning to of the 25th to 3:16 p.m. On the 25th. It stayed on again.
And was that unusual for the pattern of life on this particular phone?
It was.
What's the significance of the screen being on for 6.5 hours?
Well, while the screen can turn on when you receive an email or whatever, that it would turn back off. If it's just a notification, it would turn right back off. If it's on, it's usually that the phone is open, or you have that in the settings as to stay on.
Okay. And I want to ask a question kind of related to this. Is there a difference between the screen being on and off and the phone being locked and unlocked?
There is.
Okay, can you tell the jury the difference?
For example, you can have the screen being locked, and you receive a text message or a notification or a call, and the screen is going to show as on during the time that that notification is showing on the screen. It wakes the screen up. But that doesn't mean that somebody can access the phone. You still need to put the password to be able to access the content.
Okay, now what about the locked and unlocked?
So locked is obviously when the phone is closed, and unlocked, is when you put the passcode to just,
Okay.
you can access the content, it's open.
Okay. Showing you Defense Counsel 10X. So that would be inconsistent with the device history and usage history for this phone.
Yes.
Now, So we've talked about the Knowledge C database file. Let's discuss, let's discuss one more thing. Let's discuss the health database
Okay.
file. Does the iPhone have a health database file?
Yes, actually 3 of them.
Okay, can you tell the jury what they function?
So
For
it tracks how many steps you take. It tracks whether you go upstairs. I mean, that's the steps is approximate, or the distance in meters that you walk with the phone. You can also sync it to other health-related apps.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to go through and review the information contained in the health database file?
I did.
And did you compare that, and did you make notations of that information?
I did.
Okay, and we'll get to that in a moment. Did you also notate how long particular applications were accessed?
Yes, I did.
And did you make notations of that as well?
I did.
And specifically with regard to the notes application, did you make any reports as to when and how long various notes were accessed in Chad Amato's cell phone?
Yes, I did.
Investigator Blay, I'm showing you 10P for identification purposes. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
It has my initials and the date.
And what does item 10P purport to be?
It is a subsection of my report that shows the date that each note was accessed, the content of the note, and the identifier, so a number that identifies that note.
And is this a fair and accurate depiction of the digital information that you retrieved from Chad Amato's cell phone?
Yes, it is.
Tender 10P is states next.
Only our prior motions for us, Judge.
All right. What's been pre-marked for ID as State's Exhibit 10P will be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 284 in evidence.
Investigator Blay, did you have the occasion to notice the history of Chad Amato's phone accessing the notes?
Yes, I did.
Permission to publish, Judge?
Okay.
Showing you 284 in evidence. So, the first column, that tells us, what does the first column tell us here, where it says entry creation?
That is at what time that entry was recorded in the Knowledge C database, because this is from the Knowledge C database. So around the time that the note was accessed, this note was accessed right here.
Okay, so that note in the iPhone was accessed 1/24/2019, and what is 1801?
6:01 p.m. the time.
6:01 p.m.? Okay. And then below that, is that another note?
Yes, it is.
And when was that note accessed?
It is actually the same note, and you can tell because of the same
I see.
ID right here.
So that note was accessed at 6:01? Okay. And is this a different note?
It is.
Okay, when was this note accessed?
It's 6:08 p.m.
On the 24th?
on the 24th.
Is this that same note? Just continued on?
674, can you flip back to?
Yes.
674. No, they are different notes because of the same, the number here.
Okay. So then this next note on page 3 of this report was accessed at 6:08, is that true?
Yes.
Also 6:08?
Yes.
Also 6:08?
Yes.
And this one says 1810. What time is that?
6:10.
And the same for the bottom two? 6:10?
Correct. Yes.
6:10?
Yes.
Now, Is it fair to say that every note in that phone was accessed after 6 o'clock that night?
I think it was I think there was one that was like blank or didn't have much, and that one wasn't accessed, but I think every other note was accessed.
So every note in Chad's iPhone was accessed and reviewed,
Yes.
6/10 of the 24th. Okay. Now, going back to the health database questions, does that database record when someone goes up and down upstairs?
Upstairs, yes.
But does it record when someone goes downstairs?
No, it does not.
And did you notate that information while doing your forensic examination?
Yes, I did.
Now, I want to talk about another database file, the Safari cache database file. Okay? And what's Safari? Let's start with that.
Safari is the internet browser on Mac computers and iPhones or iOS devices.
Okay. And what's a cache database?
So cache in general is a temporary storage area for that Safari or other applications could use to save data to optimize their performance. For example, I don't know if you guys have visited a website, and if you have previously visited the website, it loads faster. And sometimes you need to hit refresh on the website so it can load again. That's cache.
Okay. And did you review the Safari cache database file from Chad's iPhone?
I reviewed the cache, yes.
Showing defense counsel 10H. May I approach the witness? Investigator Bly, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 10H for identification purposes. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
It has my initials and the date.
And what does item 10H purport to be?
This is a subsection of my report showing cache database files for one of the applications on the phone.
And this would be for web surfing?
It would be for web surfing within the application, yes.
Is item 10H a fair and accurate depiction of the database file that you retrieve this information from?
Yes, it is.
Item 10H is next.
Same objection we've been previously using.
All right, objection overruled. Here, let me make sure and look at 10H though individually. I didn't look at that one. Okay. Objection overruled. It would not be hearsay. So what's been pre-marked for ID as State's Exhibit 10H will be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 285 in evidence.
Investigator Bly, this particular record would not appear in a search history in Safari. Is that fair to say?
I don't know. I don't think so because it's not within the Safari. It's not within Safari cache. It's
Okay.
within an application.
So, just so the jury is clear, and me too, frankly, do some applications on the iPhone have the ability to go web surfing outside of Safari?
Yes, they do.
So like if you went to your banking app, or you went to a health app or a diet app, and you typed in some function, are some applications capable of redirecting to a web browser within that application?
Yes, they do.
Okay. I'm going to, permission to publish, Judge? Thank you. Exhibit 285 for the record. And Investigator Bly, this record here, the page is titled Block or Unblock Your Debit or Credit Card, USAA Bank Management Application. Can you tell by looking at this record what application generated this record?
Yes, I can. It's going to be, I believe, on the last page of this report.
Okay. Let's go to the last page then. Or the next to last page.
Right here on the path. Right here, the path, com.usaa.usaa mobile. That's what's called the bundle ID. That's pretty much what identifies the app.
Okay, so this was accessed from within the USAA banking application.
Yes, correct.
Can we tell what time, by looking at this document, that information was accessed?
Yes, on January 25th, 2019 at 12:10 in the morning.
Now, as part of your forensic examination of Chad's iPhone, did you review mobile installation logs contained on the device?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell me what a mobile installation log is?
Yes, it is a log that the iOS operating system keeps that shows applications that have been installed, uninstalled, whether the phone has been rebooted.
Okay, so it's a, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is it a file that contains information about whether applications were installed or deleted or uninstalled?
Yes, correct.
Show on Defense Counsel 10Q. May I approach the witness? Showing you, Investigator Blay, Exhibit 10Q for identification purposes. Do you recognize this item?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
It has my initials and the date.
And what does 10Q purport to be?
It is a screenshot or a subsection of my report showing the mobile installation logs section pertaining to an application called Blink.
Is this a fair and accurate paper copy of this section of your report?
Yes, it is.
10Q is next.
All right, what's been pre-marked for ID as State's Exhibit, that was 10Q, right? All right, will be introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 286 in evidence.
You said an application called Blink. Do you know what the Blink application is?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us what it is?
Yes, it is surveillance system, like security cameras that you can install at home, and you can monitor them through your phone. There's an app that lets you monitor.
So does that application give you notifications if the camera picks up movement or something?
Yes, you can set it up to be motion detected, and it gives you notifications.
May I publish 286, Your Honor? All right, well, this is kind of a blurry picture, so. Okay, so here we see the word, looks like Blink highlighted in green.
Yes, I did a keyword search, so it
Okay.
highlighted the hits.
And again, that's more, so this is just a record reflecting that there was a Blink application installed on Chad's iPhone.
It shows that it was uninstalled and that both containers, the data container and the application container, were uninstalled.
And are you able to tell by looking at this entry when the Blink security camera application was deleted from Chad's iPhone?
Yes, January 25th, 2019 at 12:31 in the morning.
Now, we've been talking for a while, and there's clearly a lot of information here. As part of your duties, did you prepare a data compilation that combines these various pieces of information into a spreadsheet?
Yes, one that combines the Knowledge C and the health databases.
I'm showing Defense Counsel 10I for identification purposes. May I approach the witness? Investigator Blay, I'm showing you Exhibit 10I for identification purposes. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
How do you recognize it?
It has my initials and the date on the bottom.
And is this, what does this document purport to be?
It is a paper printout of the compilation that I created of the Knowledge C database and the health database.
And is the information that's contained in this data compilation a fair and accurate summary of all of the separate pieces of paper most of the pieces of paper we went through already this afternoon and this morning.
Yes, most of them.
Tender 10 eyes next.
Only re-raising our motion to suppress, Judge.
What's been pre-marked for ID as State's Exhibit 10I will be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 286 in evidence. I'm sorry, 287.
All right. So, on January 24th at 13:38, what time is that in normal person time?
It is 1:38 p.m.
Was an application accessed?
Yes, it was.
Messages application?
Yes.
Okay. And the green here, this block of green, does the green signify anything in particular?
Text message application.
Okay. And then at 1:24, at 1:42, we have a device status. That's for the database files also?
Yes, that is from the knowledge C database.
Okay. And so let's scroll down a little ways. To some of the blue. So the blue areas, what's the blue significant for?
Blue were items from the health database, so steps, approximate steps or approximate distance in meters.
Okay. And then the orange?
Whether the phone was locked or unlocked.
So at 4:37, the phone was unlocked. Is that so?
Yes,
And then the message came in. Is that true?
correct.
Now, at 16:40, it's 4:40 on the 24th. What particular application was opened up? At 16:40 in yellow.
Oh, okay. The iHeartRadio application.
Okay. So, and at 16:41, the purple, what's the purple significant? What does that show us?
That the phone was plugged in,
So somebody leaving work, plugging their phone in their car, possibly.
possibly.
We had, say for example, video of somebody leaving their job at 4:40 and timesheets, that could correspond to that.
It could be.
And if we had a photo, for example, of the charger in the car, that would indicate the phone would have been plugged in the vehicle, possibly.
Plugged in.
Okay. So Sean Hannity is on the radio, at least on the iHeartRadio app. Is that true? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And it's plugged in at 16:41. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is correct. Right here.
And you can, I guess, the battery's charging. And at 17:23, what time is that in regular time?
It is 5:23.
What happens with the phone?
The phone is unlocked.
And then the iHeartRadio application, is that then shut down, accessed, or accessed?
For 1 second,
Is
yes.
that a yes?
Yes, yes.
And then at 5:25, excuse me, at 5:24, the phone is unplugged?
It is.
And then what happens at 5:25?
The phone is locked.
At 5:25, how many?
Oh, and
Yes.
steps.
How many steps are taken at 5:25?
Approximately 67 steps, 43 meters.
Is there any activity on this phone whatsoever reflected on the database files from 5:25 until 5:52?
No, there's not.
Nothing.
Nothing.
The phone's dead.
Nothing on the knowledge database or on the databases that that indicate user activity.
Then at 5:52, the phone is unlocked.
Yes.
Can you tell from the database files how the phone was unlocked?
No, not from this database.
But you testified there are two ways to unlock a phone.
Yes.
Which are what?
I'm sorry.
How? What are the two ways?
For this type of phone, Touch ID or passcode.
So at 5:52, the phone is unlocked. And looks like some text messages come in about that same time. Now, about 17:53, which is 5:53, what application is that?
The settings application, the preferences.
So at 5:53, the preferences application was accessed?
Yes.
Does that time correspond to when the phone was set to not auto lock or for the screen to stay on?
Yes, approximately 52, 53. It takes a few seconds to update in the database.
And so from this point on, that phone remains, up until about 12:30, that phone remains unlocked.
Until 12:20, and that's when.
Okay. And then we have some steps that are taken at about 6 o'clock, is that accurate?
It's 5:59, yes.
And we talked about the notes application, and we see at 6 o'clock, the notes application is accessed for 584 seconds, and they're all being accessed and looked at. Is this out of the ordinary for Chad's iPhone?
To access all of the notes, yes. Well, at least I couldn't see anything in the knowledge database that would be something like that other than that day.
So in other words, he's not checking his notes every day after he comes home from work.
No, I did not see that, at least on that database.
At 18:14, what's happening here?
Safari, the Safari application was accessed for approximately 271 seconds.
And is that the search that was completed?
This one right here. This one was the last page that was previously accessed, the Gator Shatter forum, and then this is the search at 6:15.
Okay. And we have a text message from at 18:45, 18:40, so 6:45, 6:46,
Yes.
message from Chad's phone to Cody's phone. Is that true?
Correct.
And at 18:47, a response from Cody,
From Cody's phone.
Cody's
Yes.
phone. Okay? Next page, you see your ring. What is it, the 2027? What time is that in regular people time?
8:27.
8:27? What application was accessed?
The ring application and the, yes, the ring application.
Okay. And at 9:07
The messages application.
for 203 seconds.
Yes.
Okay, how long is that?
Maybe 3 minutes, a little bit over 3 minutes.
Couple minutes, and then another 60 seconds right after that, 61 seconds after that,
Yes,
and then another 16 seconds after that.
correct.
So for 200 and almost 300 seconds, the message is absent. Are messages being written or just open?
It wouldn't be, at least it wouldn't be sent or received because it would have shown up in the database.
Okay, so nothing's being sent
No,
or received?
or received, no.
Just perusing.
Yes.
At 21:11, it's 9:11. This dark green indicates what?
The incoming calls. The first one right here is when somebody calls you and the call pops up on the screen, and while it's ringing, it stays up on the screen. And this other one right here is the contact associated to that incoming call.
And at 21:15, same.
Same thing.
And were these the calls that were deleted from the phone?
Yes.
From the call log of the phone?
Yes, from the call log.
At 11:28, what application was accessed?
Right here, Safari.
For how long?
2,363 seconds.
And you can see the searches that were logged by the phone.
Yes.
And was an Apple website visited as well?
It was right here.
Okay. It looks like the phone went upstairs.
It did.
One flight of stairs here. Okay. On 125 at 8 after midnight, can you tell us what application was accessed here?
The USAA Bank app. Right here.
And for how long was the USAA Bank app accessed?
723 seconds if you combine these two.
Okay. And then we see some more steps. And the phone is locked and subsequently unlocked. Now, at 8:25 in the morning, you have yellow here, a text message being received. That's on the 25th?
Yes.
Okay.
At 8:25 in the morning.
Okay, so I want to go back just real quick to one of the pages. On 125 at 8 after midnight, the USAA bank application access. Joint Defense Counsel 14I, for identification purposes.
One moment, why don't, before we do this exhibit, why don't we take a break? We've been going for a while.
Yes,
All right? Break. So at this point, we're going to take just a short recess, 10-minute recess. You guys can have a stretch break, coffee break. All right? You may be seated. All right, we're going to be in a short recess. Let me ask, how much longer do you think you got on this witness?
15, 10 minutes? Almost.
Okay, all right. Okay, we'll do just a brief recess, and then we'll be back in 10 minutes.